You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey, here we are. It is Monday. And Robbie,
Black Monday in these parts.
Robbie is going with the no hat again. 2 shows in a row. All right, you didn't hear it here, but I think Robbie has a girlfriend, is what I think.
What, dude? What are you doing?
What?
Is this the pizza party?
What in this show is off limits? Has ever been off limits? Why would I not call Robbie out on this?
This is the only green allowed.
Robbie's personal life.
Not even the green Hulk.
I just want to point out, Nick, that you come in here with pizza and you didn't bring any for me and John. I just
First of all, I asked you if you wanted anything. You said you were good.
You guys
have
know,
any video evidence? No, I got my boy here. He brought me.
You guys
good
know
stuff.
that Rex often needs food.
He brought me a care bag.
All right, real quick. What was everybody's favorite movie trailer? Punisher
On Friday. I think
for John Spilios, yeah. So everybody's favorite trailer. I was happily surprised how much I liked The Flash, especially since he's fighting his greatest villain ever, General Zod.
Well, I think Michael Keaton took that one over.
I think the script, the people writing the movie thought Grodd was Zod.
I would have loved to, man. I would have loved
Marcus Flash with the 2 Ezras. So I know Robbie is a very cool sort of fella. He doesn't grind it in your face, whatever. But I know he was chuckling a little bit. But I just want to say that this meme has been floating around all day. Rihanna's unborn baby made it to the Super Bowl before the Cowboys did.
Oh my God!
Robbie is not laughing. I just noticed that.
I saw that same meme, but it said the Lions. I saw the same one, but it said the Lions. Anyway, did you enjoy the game, Rex?
I did.
I did up until the last 10 minutes.
What was the last 10 minutes?
Leading to the defeat.
No, well, I would say it's more like the last minute,
like
2 minutes.
4 hours of fun in 10 minutes.
It felt like the tortoise and the rabbit, where the Eagles felt that we won this game. We don't have to play as hard.
Yeah, it was not.
Well, I have something even more relevant, right? So, Angelo's, which is Nick's favorite place to order pizza, which is where that pizza's from as well.
It's because it's the only phone number I know.
They were friggin' slammed last night.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I waited, and then they got my order wrong. I ordered 2 pies. They only had 1. And then I was listening to them picking up the phone hour, 45 minutes. Ridiculous, right? So I went over to my daughter's. That's why I needed the pizza, right?
Wait, what did Marcus write? Chiefs got a trophy, and what else? Go ahead, keep going.
Marcus, let me say, Marcus. Robbie should be in a good mood.
Eagles left with nothing. There you go.
All right, so to add insult to injury, right? So I'm at my daughter's place.
It's more expensive tonight to kind of make you feel better that more money is coming.
And weird it is, Ken Hazer, by the way. So I went to my daughter's place to watch the game, right? So that's why I need the pizzas.
30% more tonight.
And I'm eating the pizza, and they got the wings, and I'm eating the wings, right? So surprise. All right, my daughter didn't bother to tell me. I knew it was a possibility, but she called me. She left me as a reference, okay, to one of these shelters. So it's starting to look like Noah's Ark in my daughter's apartment, right? So
dude, why is she not working with Save Whiskers?
Wait. It gets better than that.
We need help.
So the Camden County one too. I asked her why did she go. They walked into some cat cafe and she thought they actually had coffee. Turns out they were a shelter, and the only coffee they had was a Keurig machine. All right, and then
you go there to pet cats and adopt cats, and the coffee is like incidental to the process.
So I love cats and dogs, so it's no big deal. But I didn't think it was good planning. She knew it, so she didn't tell me until I got there last night. So I'm playing with the cats, and I figure I'm going to spoil them, right? So we had the wings, and I'm feeding the cat like little pieces of the wings, thinking I'm going to mess with my daughter this way because now they're going to be begging for food all the time. So then, not realizing, because my cats are very well behaved. They, when I feed them people food, they wait until I put it in their little dish, and they don't come like begging for it. So these two kittens are all over the place. So as I'm feeding it the chicken, it bites down on my finger, and I mean not even playing. All right, Jay, do you have the picture? Show the monster beast that took a nick out of my finger.
Oh my God!
This was the monster, the Satan spawn that bit my finger all the way on both sides too. It's bruised. I mean, it took like a hard chunk down on my finger, and I'm like, "Ow!" My daughter's like,
"What's wrong?" The worst part of the story was they got your order wrong.
I thought that was going to be the worst part of the story too. No, apparently not. Oh, there was blood everywhere.
He's like, that's what you get for being an Eagles fan.
Well, then the cat came up to me later trying to act like, what? Why, are you mad? Look at my butt. I like you.
I think Amy wants to chime in with something. You're lucky you didn't lose an eye like Nick Fury.
Oh, I'm waiting for the call where the cats ate the rats or vice versa from my daughter. I said that too. I said, why'd you get the rats then? She goes, well, we didn't know about the cat place. We were just going to look for coffee. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Before we get started, let me
That cat is not in my house. I have the two cats in my house that my daughter wanted to adopt.
For cats, human fingers taste like chicken.
Dwayne's a pain, finger looking good. That's good. That's a good one. For him, it was. It's now had human blood. So I wonder what that means.
So pretty much everybody was unanimous that the Flash trailer was the best trailer ever.
Flash was my favorite.
It was the best trailer. I mean, in terms of all the commercials and stuff that were going on.
Man, some of those commercials are terrible.
Yeah, some of them are pretty bad.
I mean, it's like, do they go out of their way to like? I mean, the Ben Stiller one was like, oh my God, am I acting?
Yeah. That one was not good. That one,
at the very least, end it with I couldn't act this good. How good this tastes.
Yeah, that was that. There were some, and they, you figure you spend $1 million for the spot. I mean,
$1 million. They were $7 million.
Some were $7 million. Depends on when the commercial kick took place.
So when the Eagles were winning, they were $7 million. When the Chiefs were winning, it went down to $1 million.
No, it doesn't work that way. The network nails that down early, just in case it's the most boring.
All I will say is this. The bar in Philadelphia that is a Chiefs bar were really smart to decide to shut down. I told you this.
Oh, yeah.
If they didn't shut down and they actually would have went through with it,
well, they flipped the car last night somewhere. I read.
Yeah, that would have been the fire department's bar in the morning.
I could badly act for.
I have no doubt, Jay. You'd be lining up, buddy. You would be lining up for that job.
No, Ronald. This is the one that John said he had. It's the one that he told Amy. But I think Amy wants to chime in with something.
I mean, come from an Eagles family. Were we kind of sad? Yeah, but I mean, we still had a great time. Yesterday was still a great day.
It was.
We celebrated a birthday. One of my cousins got engaged.
Yeah, that's right.
So Amy, it was a lovely little surprise before game time.
I really was.
So I still had a great day yesterday, despite not winning.
I was really just hoping for overtime. I was really hoping for a tie in overtime.
Well, that wasn't going to happen after the bad penalty call. That's for sure.
That was a terrible penalty call.
So before we get started,
matter of fact, I think only one person really called that penalty, and then the refs were like, "Oh yeah."
But that was not a good call. But they'll be talking about that for months. So go ahead, John. What do you got?
Here is a Monday meal issue meatball sandwich.
Oh man, you've actually got these out in days for me?
I did. That's a sausage and pepper sandwich.
Oh, for Saturday? Won't that be too long?
No, that one's still a little bit warm.
It's a panini. Wow, it's like going grocery shopping.
And Nick gets lint.
Oh, what is that?
You have had the opportunity to have catered lunches here, and you said, "Don't bother me, kid. I'm reinventing the collectibles market." So I said, "All right, sir," and toddled back into the studio.
And that?
This is sausage stuffed long hot and
wow,
rigatoni or I think that one's ziti with cheese and guanciale.
Oh man, I won't have to buy anything to eat for like a week now.
Well, I figured this way for the rest of the. Now, when you say,
I will tell you one thing: better than getting beer beer battered mozzarella sticks. I couldn't believe it. That Angela's Pizza never ordered the mozzarella sticks.
I've never tried it. Their pizzas are pretty good. Their cheesesteaks aren't bad. Yeah, weird. I will be actually. So Robbie's gonna have to carry the show. Food for the cats. No, apparently my fingers are food for the cats. What's that?
The newly coiffed.
So you really gave the cat the finger.
Yeah, well, no. Well, he gave me the finger more or less. He took care of it lickety split. I did not expect that at all. But I guess, he's a little guy, so he couldn't figure out the difference between my finger and the chicken, apparently. But yeah, my daughter was like freaking because there was a lot of blood, man. I was like, oh my God, that hurt. Triple B, what's going on, buddy? All right. We're heavy on Batman tonight because John missed so many shows.
Pick a Batman book. Pick a Batman book.
But now I feel bad because he bought me all his food.
Pick a Batman book.
I can take it back. Don't worry about it.
All right, let's do Detective Comics number 1027, Art Germ Variant, signed in silver by John Romita Jr.
Yeah, pick another one.
Oh, man. All right, let's go with Batman number 98, Joker War, signed by James Tynion IV. Suggested retail $49.99. It is number 8 of 120, and we have the one available for $29.99.
Only because I only just started eating the pizza, and my brain hasn't caught up to my stomach. We'll make that $8 for number 8, and I'm out of here before I make any other deal.
Wait, you just made it $8?
$8. Let's see who jumps on it first.
Dude, are you sure that's real pepperoni on that pizza?
Right?
Oh no, it's going to be like soy pepperoni
it's
or
like
something.
That's like less than the cost of buying the book and shipping it, much less the autographs.
No kidding. Yeah, shipping's $10. All right, so $8
at the 6:30 mark.
Nobody's claimed it. They can't believe it.
Kevin, are you claiming? Oh, wait, no. Preston got there
Preston
first,
beat you
buddy.
by like a second.
Sorry. All right, you got it, Preston. Man, you better hope Nick doesn't touch any of this food here because I'm sure this has animal protein all over the place. John wouldn't come here.
I'm out of here.
All right. You got it, Preston. I got you down, buddy. Hey, Kevin, thanks for joining us, buddy. We'll have other good deals on here, I'm sure.
Yeah. That was a steal.
Crazy. That was a steal. That was absolutely nuts.
Now, you know how you heat these up, right? What don't you use?
The microwave.
God. You to break into your house and
you just said don't use the microwave, right?
Exactly.
All right, I got it. Is that why everything's wrapped in foil? To guarantee?
Well, they're wrapped in parchment paper and foil, so you can slowly heat them in the oven.
I can leave the parchment paper in there?
Yeah. Parchment paper, yeah.
What, 350?
Gentle heat, yeah. What, 3? Yeah, you can use 350.
For how long?
10 minutes.
Okay, got it.
I don't. This one is Tunisian chicken thighs, mushrooms.
Did you cook all this?
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, it was a big Super Bowl weekend for you.
So I'm assuming that there's like this like dry ice package coming my way, John. Is that the case?
Sure. Okay.
No,
keep an eye out for the UPS guy. Don't worry, he'll get there eventually.
These were I actually agreed to cook. We were gonna have something catered. We were down on Long Beach Island. We'd rented a house, and family came up, and friends came over, and stuff like that. And the caterer was like, "Hey, we need to bump your pickup time." And I was like, "If you can make the pickup time, that's great. If not, then I'm not interested." And they were.
When they say bump, do they mean bump later?
Yeah, like I was like, we had family coming over and stuff like that, and we wanted the food there early. Everybody could eat, watch the game, and they wanted to bring the food at like 4:30 or something. And I was like, we have people showing up at 11:30 in the morning. That's why the food selection is what it is. And I wasn't a jerk.
Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, everybody.
I just said I'm not. I said I don't want it. So
what'd you do? Go to the grocery store? Or do you always have stuff in your fridge?
There's always stuff in.
I kind of figured.
There's always stuff in the storehouse. There's always stuff. So you just whipped out the pots. They
and
have
and
an event
cooking?
grill at this place, so I said, okay, like it's like a house like we rent with some friends every year, and my buddy got this big event grill and this and that, and I just said, you know what? We started throwing stuff on the grill, cooking. I started with pancakes in the morning. And I just kind of cooked all day, and it was beautiful because the weather wasn't the best, but they have the grill facing the ocean.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't too cold, but it was a little rainy here.
there's kind of something about that where you're cooking and like the ocean is right here, like you can look down the other side, and that's pretty cool. It is pretty neat. Yeah.
It's handy. I had no options. By the time I got to the pizza place and they're telling, I'm listening, pick up the phone, like an hour, 45 minutes. I'm like, dude, I ain't waiting an hour, 45 minutes for another pie. And I felt bad. I mean, they were absolutely slammed. And I realized mistakes happen.
It's one of the absolute worst days of the year in the industry. Absolute one of the worst days.
I got to imagine.
No matter how many people they have on, no matter how prepped they think they are.
Yeah, you're just never prepped enough.
It's never prepped enough.
I actually tried to call early and get a time thing, and she says, "I'm going to tell you, you're better off just placing the order now, and we're probably going to be behind." And I got there, and I still had to wait another 20 minutes. So, but and then the cat bit me. So it was and the Eagles lost. So it was a banner day all the way around. To be quite honest.
Sounds like a great one, man.
And I love my daughter. All right, and I realized that I as soon as she was born, I had her on my knee for Sunday football, and she was a July baby, so it was perfect timing, right?
That's when the illegitimate son got cut loose, huh?
Yeah, pretty
much. I got a daughter now. I don't need you.
Well, and and then her mom, my ex-wife, would go out on Sundays, and I'd stay with the baby and watch the game, but it never stuck. So her boyfriend and the roommate are not real big, and Robbie, you can sympathize with this. They're not real big sports fans. This is a Super Bowl. It's a local team, so they're all there, right? Hey, Random is Key. What's going on, buddy? So you know how it is when you're watching a football game with people that don't really know the game, and they start yelling stuff out and blurting stuff, and get him, like, oh my God, that was a catch, and I'm like, how do you know it's a catch? I didn't say anything. I didn't want to offend anybody, but I'm thinking to myself, dude, you don't even know the rules to the catch. Okay. So I'm looking at the replay. You know the one I'm talking about, Dallas Goedert right on the sidelines where did he have control of the football? Did he have 2 steps in? And they're blurting all this stuff out. And the whole time I'm just sitting there and I want to correct them. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, you get a flag thrown for false start, they're asking what happened, and you and I both know a flag in that area of the field right before the snap is going to be false start, or it's going to be offsides, or it's going to be encroachment. But they're just blurting stuff out, and I know it was for my benefit, so they could act like they were really into it. But they all seem to pay a little bit more attention during the halftime show. So that's all I'm saying. But all in all, it was fun.
I'm happy that you didn't correct them, Rex, because I think that means that you maintained a good focus mentally and you leveled up as a human being.
Well, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that, Robbie.
Yeah.
This is the kinder, gentler Robbie when he's not wearing a hat. I thank you for saying that. And you know what? I didn't want to go through the process of explaining what it is that I meant. That was the other reason I kept my mouth shut. And, hey, listen, you got to be careful. You want to drop a name, Preston Scott is right there waiting for him. So the halftime show. Yeah, well, we'll have to talk about that. We'll have to talk about the trailers. So apparently there were a lot of little Easter eggs in the Flash trailer, from what I hear. So the Batwing looks like it's the one from the original.
We kept going back to it. Like I said, my heart is not in this movie. I did not plan to go and see it. My nephew was like very much, we're going to see this, right? So I'm like, and I didn't want to tell the kid, well, I really don't want to see this movie for all these reasons. So I'm like, yeah, okay, fine, we'll go. It's the Morbius thing. If I went to Morbius, I can go to this. And we rewound it like over and over and over again. And it looks like there's the Batwing from Batman 89.
Right.
You can see the costume from Batman 89, and they replicated some shots from Batman 89, which is the long kind of like inverse tunnel shot where he's falling and the bats are all over the place. And they've kind of done it a couple times before, but that was like the first time they did this. Oh, and they show him he deploys the wings, which was from the second Batman movie where he sort of is falling and he deploys.
Yeah, the wings come out. Yeah, right. All right, so
and then of course you see Supergirl. They went with their version of Supergirl. Right. Now I'm not sure if this version of Supergirl is supposed to be just another version of Supergirl or takes the place of Superman.
Real quick, everybody hit that thumbs up. Jay, You should run that. I guess we're going to call it a commercial. The section you cut from Friday's show with Amy saying that I shouldn't quote movies I haven't seen yet.
Oh
no.
Well, let's get Jay. Go ahead.
Let me get that loaded up first, and I'll play it after the commercial.
All right, sounds good. Let's do that. Let's do this real quick for Ron. All right, let's do X-Men #1, signed with Man-Thing cover sketch by Ken Hazer, and he did this back in 2011. I know we talked about a Swamp Thing versus Man-Thing, so that was in my head, and when I saw this, I had to pull it out. So suggested retail of $89.99. We have the one available for $69.99.
So you said when you saw this Man-Thing, you had to just pull it out, is what you said.
Yes.
Just clarifying.
I'm going to be on the news.
Probably. And it won't be good, I assure you. All right. So then, you know what? And then another quick one I'm going to throw out there before we got to go to break. Walt Disney Comics and Stories #1, signed with Pluto cover sketch by Ken Hazer. Also an $89.99 retail, but this one's our bargain basement of the day. All right, you got it, Ron. Bargain basement of the day. This one is $29.99.
Oh, wow.
This isn't quite a name drop, but through a bizarre set of circumstances, I'm friends with Stacy Smith, who works at Disney, and they're doing Disney 100 in March at the Franklin Institute, and she remembered I lived, 20, 25 minutes from the Franklin Institute, so she got me passes to go, which was
very cool.
Well, that was probably like the highlight of the Super Bowl.
Now, where's it going to be?
Franklin Institute.
Okay.
Disney 100. If you go to Disney Plus, you can see they have a special to show you with Disney 100. It's like a touring sort of, it's a celebration of Disney. It's 100 years of we're so much better than you at everything.
Well, let me say this. So the Franklin Institute is in Philadelphia, and it is a how do I put this? It's kind of a general museum kind of place.
It's like a mashup between a museum and a gallery. Philadelphia has several of these kinds of places.
Well,
the
I remember going
Center,
right, but
interactive,
but the Franklin Institute, I remember going as a kid myself. It's been around that long, and it was always neat. They had the big heart that you walk through, and whatever. It was always neat, educational, of course. But of late, in the last, I don't know, decade or two, they've really turned around. They've had like some interesting exhibits come through. They had Star Trek.
Back in the day,
had Harry Potter.
It was like laser Pink Floyd, and people were almost laughing about it, right? Because people would get high and then go and watch it, and the security would be like, "Come on, man, this is a museum. Why are you doing this?" But it was an experience like everybody did it in the 90s. But by the 2010s, it became a thing where parents brought their kids,
right,
and it was laser shows, and behold the galaxy.
But I really feel like they've been active in trying to get new, popular things, relevant things.
There's a couple things you look at in Philadelphia, which are like foundational organizations in Philadelphia. One by one, they're having their problems post-pandemic. One of my favorite things is the Philly Pops. They're done. They got kicked out of the Kimmel Center, which they played at forever. And now they're sort of almost like this vagabond troupe of musicians. They're not sure where to go. There's one or two other things in Philadelphia, performing arts, where they just, I guess they didn't get the money they needed. Their landlords were looking for more money. It's unpleasant, right? So the people that are trying to still stay, focus on mission, like the Franklin Institute, like the Constitution Center. Constitution Center is a little bit different because it gets money from the city, the state, the federal government. Right. They never are losing money because, it's like the Declaration of Independence is here. So, we're good.
Right. All right, hold that thought. We're going to go to our first break. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now. Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
You just finished the last episode of your favorite new show, and you just have to talk about it. But all your friends are ghosting you because of that incident last week at the buffet. Oh, you know the one. What you did to that chowder. Ugh. Keeps me up at night. So what do? Join writer Dan Wickline as he breaks down all your favorite pop culture media. Whether it's a review of the latest nerdy TV show or a dive back into the history of your favorite comic characters, Dan's ready to discuss all the hottest topics live. Join the conversation as Dan live streams Tuesday through Thursday at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. The Dan Wickline Show on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
All right, and we're back. Yeah, John just stepped out for a minute. He's probably warming up the food for me to make sure I don't put it in the microwave. So Robbie, what? Yeah, Jay, let's give that a minute. I don't know if Nick wants to be in here when we run that, but Robbie, tell me, what was your favorite commercial of the night?
Well, I will. I'll let you know something. I actually did not watch the Super Bowl last night.
What?
No, I did not. I honestly didn't care about either team. Didn't want to see any of the commercials. I knew that anything that was funny or any good trailer would be available online. So I just hung out with a homie and watched Flash Gordon last night instead.
Wow.
If you actually watched his show, you'd know that.
Because I'm watching the Super Bowl, dude.
No, was it today you had that show on?
It's tonight. Tonight's when we're talking about Flash Gordon, but I watched it last night.
I'm going with Marcus. I think Marcus got it pegged.
Did you see somebody was asking about a book or something? Asking me about it?
Yes. I got you, Ron. I wrote that down, buddy. I don't know if she's watching. If she's watching, she saw it. If she didn't,
I saw her.
I'll make sure to mention it, buddy.
She hates this show. It's so dull. People asking for stuff.
She was watching it when you weren't here. All right, let's get John's favorite character, Batman, out there. All right, let's do Batman number 50, The Wedding, signed by Tom King.
They took this right over. I'm tired of
Suggested retail $49.99. It is number 62 of the edition signed, and we have the one available for $27 for Detective 27. All right, not no hat kind of homie. Yeah, you got that right, Marcus. So
no, I actually watched it last night with my buddy Brooks, who had never seen Flash Gordon, and I haven't seen it. He loved it, and I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so it was basically a first-time watch. But that's what we're covering tonight for PCP Movie Night.
So, CJ knows a little bit about Philadelphia. Is the Mushulu still open? You got it, Preston.
Yeah, CJ's. Yeah, my wife was at Mushulu.
It is.
She has a friend
I went there
right
once
down
years
there.
ago.
Her and her friends love to get cocktails right before she came home.
Yeah, they're kind of pricey, so that's not my kind of hangout.
You know what? It depends. You have to they're going to rip you off anyway, so you might as well order the top shelf drinks. When you order, like, I'll just take whatever vodka and orange juice you give me, they're going to clip you anyway. So if you're gonna get clipped, you might as well get clipped a little bit more and get a much better drink.
Right.
I have a friend like you who does that. Like, I'll just have your, Bankers Club vodka in a plastic bottle that's almost witch hazel and orange juice made from frozen concentrate. And I'm like, dude, I get it. Like, I understand you don't want to spend money, but they're going to charge you $9.
You might as well, spend that extra few
You know what
bucks.
I mean? Like, some places you can do that. You can go to your neighborhood bar, $6, 12 drinks, whatever. It's great. But a place like Mishulu, for people that don't know, Mishulu is a boat. It's a sailing vessel that's harbored at Penn's Landing, and
They turned it into a restaurant.
They've turned it into a restaurant and a bar and a hangout and event space. It's really cool. It
is cool.
I worked like 10 years ago. I worked at the event space there with some other caterers. Really cool. Very, very expensive. It's the kind of place you ask your girlfriend to marry you. It's the kind of place where you and your husband celebrate your 25th anniversary. It's real pricey.
No,
it's real nice.
It's the place you take
pricey.
your date on a first date, and then you take her to Wendy's after that. Okay, every date after, because you have completely blown your money there. I told you I was going, right? On Saturday, met a bunch of old friends, and
Unfortunately, at our age, all our friends are old friends.
yeah, that's true, actually. The mechanical brewery in Cherry Hill. So, dude, it is off Mall Crest. It's back behind this industrial section that loops around. No frontage at all.
Yikes.
I never would have accidentally found this at all. There's no way. I've lived in this area for over 20 years, and I know where that place is located, but I couldn't figure. I'd never been back there. It was a great little place. When you have time, I totally recommend it. We all had a 6 flight, and some of the stuff, tried some I didn't like, but some I do. John, you got it, buddy. But it was fun. I love those. I don't know if anybody else, but I'm a big fan of those little microbrews.
Somebody just asked about 94th Air Squadron. I tell people when they're like soup fans, like they're like, not a lot of people are into it, but when someone's really into soup, I tell them to go up there. 94th Air Squadron in Northeast has hands down the best beer cheese soup I've ever had, including my own. I used to make beer cheese soup for events. It's kind of a pain to make, like egg drop soup. You got to get it right. It goes wrong real easy. The people up there do really well. I have not been there since the pandemic. I remember we were there like first, second week in January, right about when people were talking about, people starting to get sick. I remember watching on the news, like people were wearing masks in like Hong Kong or whatever. And like, it never occurred to anyone that by March, people wouldn't leave their houses here.
All right. Jay, not a problem. John Spilios, I got you, buddy. So that one is our buddy, John Spilios.
Very nice rendition of Frankencastle by Mr. Hazer there.
This was also from 2011, because I was back in the days when Ken Hazer would date. As far as I know, John, he is working on it, my friend. I gotta check up on him and see how it's going.
He was here last week, and he asked Nick, like, if he was. So I'm assuming you've seen how long it takes him to do stuff. So my guess would be,
well, I'm sure we're the only ones asking him to do this.
I actually told him to do John's book before my commission. I said, do John's first.
Oh, well, that's totally happening. You should have known that. He has standing orders. Whatever John Cole tells you, just ignore it. Put it on the back burner.
Oh, CJ, that's very cool. I went to that
Oh,
place.
no kidding.
I went to that place on and off for years.
Well, you guys should hang out. You and CJ are from the same business, man. You guys could like talk shop and stuff.
94th Air Squadron is one of those, it's like a locals place, right? Like tourists don't go there. I love McGillen's. A lot of people don't know this because
The one in Philly?
Yeah.
I've been there.
A wide variety of circumstances. My wake is at McGillen's. It's literally written into my will. There's like a stipend for like everybody to have a round at McGillen's. I know the owners for years. The owner, Chris, said, don't worry about it. I'll give everybody their first round at your wake. But McGillen's is not where a lot of locals go. McGillen's is like a touristy bar. McGillen's is where people go when they want the Irish bar experience, which ironically, McGillen's is not an Irish bar. They have very good food. I love the owners.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember. It was super hot when I in my younger days. They've been around a long time.
It's a local bar. It opened in 1860.
It's
on
haunted. Sansom or
what?
It's on Sansom or
Not
It's,
13th
it's a
Arch.
small alleyway.
It's
I
in
know
Queens
that.
Village. I'm trying to think where it is. It's across from like that weird East German train station bar. Yeah, see, I just said it. In the 90s, they won Best Soup.
Yeah.
This place, for as long as I can remember, has had excellent soup. And CJ, if you were making some of that soup, much respect, man. Like I said, soup, I can make soup, but soup is not my thing. I never entered chowder competitions or whatever. Soup is like a subset of, you really have to know your techniques. You have to know your stuff.
Well, I didn't realize CJ was obviously a chef. I will say this: if you have an opportunity to make friends with someone who was a chef or is a chef, I by all means recommend it. Okay, it is really a good source of information.
If I was a plumber, nobody would care. You know what I mean? If I was a plumber,
well,
nobody
no,
would.
if my pipes burst, I would care. I would call you right away. But
I'll mention paying $11 for like a Guinness where he is.
That's pretty cheap.
I was gonna say
that's cheap, man.
I want to sympathize, but I pay that, and I pay more than that. I think they have Boddingtons on tap at Raglan Road when I go down to Disney, and my wife and her sisters, and they take all the nieces and nephews and they have a great time. I'm not doing that. I sit at downtown Disney. I get to Raglan Road. I hold up the bar until they text me to come and meet them somewhere. I think a Boddington's on tap is like $11. It's like one of 5 places in the country that have it on tap. So yeah, I mean, to me, I almost don't want to be paying less than like $10 for a glass of beer, because now I'm wondering what you're giving me.
All right, hold on, Triple P. X23 unmask. I will do my best.
Yeah, CJ72. A lot of people who worked corporate, you had to be able to wear many hats. There are times like I did a lot of business with Iron Hill in like the 2010s, and everybody in the Iron Hill, like there were times people would cook, and other times they'd be front of house, and then there'd be like an area supervisor, or they'd be filling in because someone had like a personal issue and needed time off or whatever. You had to be a lot more cross-trained if you're going to work. One of our kind of like distant cousins or whatever, her son or in-law cousins, he wants to get in the culinary world.
Right.
And I said to him, look, I would start at the corporate end because you get a lot of cross-training that they pay for.
Right.
And then if it turns out you actually have talent, well, then you can look for investors and kind of go off on your own.
Right.
The truth is most people are just better off
I guess
staying in the
that's
corporate
true.
world.
Yeah,
because there's benefits, there's a salary.
Well, not only that, if you're really going to branch off and open up your own restaurant, you kind of need all that business side of the business as well.
I'm brutally honest. I used to talk about this on my own radio show. Now it's nice to be retired and live my life the way I want to, debt free. There were times where I slept in my truck. Like, it didn't start that way. It ended that way. So if you're not the kind of person that can, shower and shave at the gym, use a community kitchen to get your work done, you know what I mean? Eat your own food for like a year and a half without any, because that's all you had. If you're not cut out for that, then maybe you want to stay with a company and they make sure, you're getting your check every 2 weeks, you're getting your benefits, you're getting your vacation time, because it is not great. The failure rate is high, and sometimes it can be soul crushing. I tell that to anybody. Older people watching the show,
just watch those cooking shows on TV.
I want to be Bobby Flay. Okay.
Sure. All right. So, Sean, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for joining us. We touched on the Flash trailer a little bit, but I'm sure we're gonna talk more about it as the show goes. Okay.
And they're gonna keep, like, a lot of these trailers will expand it, right? This was like the sneak peek, right? Eventually we'll get a little bit more. They'll probably integrate a little more Supergirl into it. Like I said, I don't know if this Supergirl is supposed to be like the Superman figure,
right?
Like, there's no Clark Kent. It's just
so a lot of this is based on Flashpoint, right? And in Flashpoint, Barry goes back to save his mother, and it reverberates all these changes across, and he basically lives in this whole new world. And in this one, they say that there are no metahumans or something like that, right? So there's no Aquaman, there's no Superman or whatever. But in the Flashpoint comic, there was something called Project S, and it was they had found Kal-El when he landed, and the government.
Oh, he's like in Area 51 or something, right?
Yeah, he's like an area. Yeah, exactly. He's like in a bunker. He has no sunlight, so he's like super frail and thin. And you see her in the trailer very frail and thin, and they go and like it looks like they go and break her out of there, right? And Michael Keaton's basically filling in for the Thomas Wayne Flashpoint Batman. So
that's
it seems
probably
like that's
one of my
happening.
favorite versions of Batman.
And that's why, Nick was talking about the Zod thing and not really being a Flash villain. Zod's not the villain in this film. The villain is the evil version of Ezra Miller that's probably the one that's walking around with them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, this is kind of, I don't necessarily want to say the Reverse Flash or Zoom or whatever, but it's that sort of,
Right.
I mean, I read Flashpoint several years ago. I'm not going to pretend to remember. What I remember from Flashpoint is just what I learned from Star Trek. Stop going back in time. It's always terrible. Just stop doing it.
You've messed the timeline up again, Barry. Like, Barry keeps doing it in the comic books. He just goes back in time and messes everything up. He does it in the show.
I can fix it. Stop fixing. I'm begging you to stop fixing.
Well,
and the other thing I learned was Thomas Wayne is a better Batman than Bruce Wayne. I love Thomas Wayne because you know how Batman holds people off a rooftop, but at some point the Joker knows you're not going to really drop. Thomas Wayne drops people.
And here's something that me and Rex have been talking about for weeks and weeks on our Friday show. And me and Rex have had a little bit of a disagreement on this and I know that you have feelings about it too, John. I know a lot of people have feelings about this movie because Ezra Miller is in it, right? I think the average person doesn't, the average, I mean, I talk to people about movies. They don't even know. I mean, they know who Denzel Washington is, but a lot of people I don't think know or even care what the Ezra Miller situation is. And as soon as they see Michael Keaton as Batman, they're in that theater.
I agree 100%. I agree too. One of the reasons they didn't pull the plug on that movie, like I get disgusted and I lose interest in stuff, and I'm like, you know what? There's so much other stuff that to fill up my time, my attention, content now that like 25 years ago, I wouldn't have even dreamed of not going to a movie like this. Now I'm like, you know what? This kid and his story and his situation in the studio are on my nerves, and I don't care. But like Robbie said, the average person doesn't care. They'll see Michael Keaton as Batman. They'll see the typical comic book hijinks, the guy in the suit, lightning, flashes, and lights, and everybody will cue right.
I have to admit, to me, Keaton was what stood out in the trailer for me. So, it's you attach to what you want to attach to, and for me, and you and I have talked about it.
So I agree. I just read that. So I don't think Ezra Miller is a very good Flash. We've seen him a couple times now as the Flash.
I like to think that after this movie, they're gonna do a rework. I think that because this movie is the entryway to everything else they want to do, I think they're gonna get rid of him. I'm not kidding.
Here's the problem with getting rid of him, though. If the guy is making an effort to get his life back together, and the movie makes $200 million, $300 million, from the studio perspective, they're not going to be in any kind of hurry to cut that guy loose.
Well, if it makes $200 or $300 million, it's not going to make its money back. I mean, there are rumors that this movie has cost up to $300 million to make because of all the reshoots that they've had to do.
Yeah.
They've had to deal with all this PR stuff. They probably are pumping money into Ezra's treatment. You know what I'm saying? And
I agree with you 100%.
And
I don't think so. I think they make a hard turn no matter what.
Everything we hear, and obviously this comes from people inside Warner Brothers Discovery and James Gunn, and you can't really trust him. But they're saying this movie is legitimately good. It's Andy Muschietti. He made them a lot of money with It, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. They got a lot of faith behind it. Apparently, it's testing very well. So I think what's happening is this movie's going to come out. Unless it makes $2 billion, they're going to be like, we're moving in another direction for Flash because that movie, as great as it was, gave us an opportunity to springboard into something different.
So Jay, I read today that James Gunn squashed that rumor that there's no way Clooney is coming back as Batman in any way, shape, or form, which I'm good with.
The Black Adam thing. Sean just mentioned the Black Adam thing. Dwayne Johnson continues to dispute that. He did it again on a podcast. He's like, people keep saying this movie did not make money. He's like, this is corporate kind of financing hijinks. And a lot of it is probably because they don't want to have to pay him. But this idea that they lost money or did not make enough money on Black Adam, he's not willing to see that. And a lot of times other celebrities kind of quietly just accept what the studio says. He is not the guy to do
You
that.
see, here's the thing. Now
it's
he
partly
may
ego too, right?
Well,
But
part of it, and part of it maybe he's chasing his money. But I agree.
I think he's chasing his money,
right? But
That's
I
sort of-
agree with what's being said. Again, Shazam can earn $300 million and be considered a success. Black Adam earns $450 million. Everybody's saying, well, we're kind of just there. We're breaking even. Again, The Rock has got to ask himself, what was your take on that, as opposed to Zachary Levi?
Well, you're supposed to, and I think that's sort of the kind of the ground that Dwayne Johnson is standing on. And again, it's ego, but the guy in a way has the math to back him up. You're telling me that you made more money with Zachary Levi than with me.
I know I can Google this, but I want to see what everybody's memory is. When was Flashpoint? What season was Flashpoint in the Flash TV series?
This season
It's like
4.
2.
I thought it was later than that, but okay.
No,
Yeah.
I thought season 3
4
was not reverse Flash, was
I can't think of his name now. The guy.
No, I get it all confused for the season where the villain is another speedster who is one of them in disguise. I get it confused with that season. That's
and
not
I thought that
following.
was season 3.
I love the Flash TV
It's the other.
series,
It's
but
the other reverse Flash.
It's not.
Savitar. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you.
Marcus knows everything.
It's
He
not
really,
Zoom,
really
it's not
does.
Zoom. That's the point. We've had both Zoom and Savitar.
I think
So season 4 was Savitar.
I think the reward for Marcus should be the red pants, but that's just me.
He pretended to be Jay Garrick. I love the fact that that's probably the guy I love to see the most. We still keep talking about James Gunn, and he has to be Kevin Feige. I want you to be Greg Berlanti first. Baby steps.
No, I just want you to be James Gunn.
Make me smile with John Wesley Shipp as Jay Garrick. When you show me that, then I understand that you're getting.
I think
We just want him to be James Gunn.
I think that the comparison to Feige is inevitable.
By the way, did anybody say when Flashpoint was? Was that season 5?
3? Sean said.
Season 3 was Zoom.
I don't think that.
What
Oh,
movie?
you know what, Jay?
Yes, we know.
Jay, run that clip.
I laughed a little too hard at the Ghostbusters line. Yeah, there you go. Let's see. So where's the $50 Ramita Spider-Man pages, Nick? I ain't got no $50 Ramita Spider-Man pages. I don't know who told you that.
Have you
But
told people you haven't seen Ghostbusters, or have you caught up? I don't remember.
do you want to tell them?
Have you still not seen that movie? I'm like, you're making that joke, like I don't remember you saying you've seen that movie.
I have not seen the movie.
So
Go ahead, Amy.
no. If they can hear me, it's fine. So guys, does Zick deserve to make that joke if he's never seen the movie? Like just one of those famous films of all time, and he's never seen it.
Am I allowed to quote a movie that I haven't seen? That's what it is. Am I allowed to quote a movie I have not seen?
Just curious.
Thank you, CJ. CJ agrees. Ron, that is not a Star Wars CCA. Let me see. What is it? It is.
I really like the Superman Spider-Man connecting.
I haven't gotten that
So
yet.
what's the final word? Am I allowed to make that comment?
The answer would be no.
No.
CJ is an
That was-
emphatic no.
No.
So the
Jay, did you hit the thumbs up? Just asking. Oh my God, John! I thought you would have my back, John. Oh my God!
They'd like you to return to your office and keep publishing the best comics in the industry, sir. Thank you.
But I'm sure Nick has seen it by now. Amy is the boss.
I've seen that in my house.
Amy and I made a deal. She's gonna finish watching John Wick. I'm gonna watch Ghostbusters.
we'll see if that actually happens.
The original
Um,
Ghostbusters? You
yeah.
haven't seen it?
Yeah, so many iterations of it now.
Well,
John, or not John, Ron, the Star Wars book that you saw is actually Star Wars #1. It's the movie variant, signed by John Cassaday. It's just a retail of $49.99, and we have it for $19.77. Another one is a bargain basement. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, there's some deals here tonight. This is like an opportunity for people to pick up some neat stuff and tell their friends, yeah, I didn't pay anything for this, but do you want to pay more for it?
I will I will not see Jaws. Yeah, that's blasphemy. I agree with that.
There's certain movies that are part of American culture.
Yeah, Jaws is it.
And Jaws is one of them. When you say you haven't seen Jaws, like people who haven't seen The Godfather, I'm like, how old are you? If you're 14 or 15, I cut you slack. When you're 45, I'm like,
well,
what
I
have
think
you been doing?
I think one of the most traumatic scenes, because I was fairly young when I saw that movie, was obviously when the grizzly old captain gets eaten by the shark when it's on the boat.
Yes.
And now, of course, with CGI and special effects, I look back at that movie and oh my God, that is so fake.
Sean, I agree with you. I am constantly pestering Nick for more stuff. He was talking
Lyle
about
Hobbs and Deliverance. Yeah, so that scene, I would like to kind of see Jaws. I hate to say this, not remade, but just touch up the little shark scenes a little bit, with current day. So the shark looks like when it's eating the captain, it doesn't look so fake.
See, you're the problem, Rex. You're the reason why George Lucas went ham on those Star Wars movies, and we don't have the original. You're the reason why Han no longer shoots first. You're the reason.
Yes, I was just going to say that. He's going to come in here with like a Greedo shirt. Get out of here.
Yeah, I'm the reason. That's right. Whenever I pick up the phone and call George Lucas, I'm always telling him stuff, right?
You're the reason why they took the guns out of ET and they're all holding these CG walkie-talkies that look all weird. You're the reason.
Sean mentioned the Meg. The Meg is a truly awful movie that I watch constantly when it shows.
You got to admit the special effects were awesome.
The special effects are awesome, and there's just something about it I like.
The casting was.
Well, you mentioned this before in another movie. A lot of these films now are using Chinese industry financing and appealing to a truly global market, right? In theory, China having the largest population should have the largest population of moviegoers at some point, right? So the casting has to reflect, people were like, oh, well, I didn't know who this actress was. Yeah, but you know what? I bet millions of other people do.
No, who was the lead?
Oh, Jason Statham?
Yeah.
Totally the right guy for that
I don't
movie.
think so, man. He's action dude, man. I don't. Jay, Sharknado. I have to admit, I watched that. But I had to watch it because it just became such a buzz about it. I said, I got to watch this thing.
Deep Blue Sea was really good. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Deep Blue Sea. People are like, oh, these movies are terrible. And I'm like, well, okay, I keep watching them.
I'm trying to think. Deep Blue Sea. What was Deep Blue Sea?
That's the one with LL Cool J and Samuel L. Jackson.
Cool J.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Thomas Jane in that movie?
Thomas Jane. He's sort of like the shark wrangler.
It's got that great moment where Samuel L. Jackson's like doing this big speech like of motivation and morale.
Kind of like one of these corporate, like venture capitalist zillionaire dudes.
Yeah, and he's giving that big speech. He's like, "We're gonna get through this, and the first thing we're gonna do is," and the shark just comes and eats him straight up.
I love that. Like you don't expect to see that. It's great.
Let me say this: the one thing about Jaws, though, except for the certain fakey scenes,
Orca had Richard Harris in it, and it was like a slower, more thoughtful version of Jaws. But there was most people remember like the opening scene of Orca,
right.
And I read somewhere that close to half the people who ever bought a ticket to see Orca left at like the 18-minute mark or whatever it is. It's just a brutal scene. I'm not going to get into it. You can go look at it on YouTube or whatever. I watched the movie because I like Richard Harris, and but it is never.
Ed Weird says the Orca was the name of the boat on Jaws. I didn't actually remember that. Triple B. All right, you know what? Let's do one of the 9.8s, and we got to go to our next break. All right.
You know what? Don't invite all these people to interrupt movie talk with what books are there. Just buy them. Actually, even better than that, we'll bill you. Just pay your invoice.
All right.
Leave your information because Amy hates that when you guys don't fill out the form.
Let's do Vampirella number 7. Lucio Perillo variant cover, CGC graded 9.8. Suggested retail of $89.99, and it is a 5-star at $50 book tonight.
What a sweet deal for some sweet collars.
That is excellent collars.
This is one of these books where you'll see somebody at a trade show and they'll be running around to see, I got it at 8.2, I wanted it at 8.5 or whatever, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
All right, let's go to our next break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
We'll do at least 2 more comics.
What if Hans Gruber from Die Hard had to battle the Joker from Batman the Animated Series in a dance battle? Or who would win in a race between Baby from Baby Driver and Snidely Whiplash? If Austin Powers and Shrek found themselves in a hot dog eating contest, who would emerge victorious? These are the questions we talk about on Nerd Killer Warfare. Debate the most absurd questions you've ever heard in popular culture. Register now by scanning the QR code or visiting bit.ly/EXP casting. Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find a link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP. You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP.
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey. And behind every page, there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today. You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
So we're talking about.
Thank you, Jay. Posted the link.
Yes, thank you, Jay. I don't know how many people are into like the I don't. Do they still call them microbrews or breweries?
Yeah, craft breweries, microbreweries.
Yeah,
but real quick. Yeah, I mean, we like to have a lot of fun on the show, but seriously, Amy was asking people to fill out the link so we can get the stuff to people quicker, more streamlined fashion or whatever.
Yeah, personally, I don't care if Amy gets mad at you. As long as she doesn't get mad at me, it's not my problem. Sorry, all about me. But let me ask Robbie and everybody chime in. I don't know. I wasn't a fan at first, but I've become a big fan due to this group of friends that we were all softball parents, and now 6 years later, we still find time to hang with each other. I've made some lifelong friends, but 2 of the guys were really into these microbreweries. So we've been to all kinds. There's one in Atlanta called Reformation Brewery that I love. When we were in Denver, there was a New Belgium brewery that we went to. So it's become a thing for us. And this place, local to us, I never would have found it. It was back in this industrial section, no frontage space, that kind of thing, where anybody's going to be driving down the road. Oh, look, there's a brewery. Let's check it out. Not going to happen. But I really love it. I had a 6-beer flight. And I was just talking to John about it because John is an aficionado, and I kind of went dry for a little bit. So Saturday was the first time in probably over 2 months that I had anything to drink. So, and it was good reason to kind of fall off the wagon, if you will. I was telling John one couple. The last time I saw them was right before the pandemic. We'd gone to a place in Philadelphia called Fishtown, to another microbrew. I think it was what's the one down there?
Conshohocken Brewery?
No, not that one. Oh, Flying Fish. No, not Flying Fish.
No, Flying Fish is here in Jersey.
Yeah, no, not Flying Fish. I can't remember now. But yeah, so I hadn't seen them in like 4 years. So it was nice to catch up. But I'm now a real aficionado. Of course, I'm not sure where they get the water from, John. when the brewery's local in New Jersey. The state of New Jersey is one big super fun site.
I'm a huge fan of craft beer, right? Like I love beer and I love craft beer and I love trying different things out. And in my early 20s, so I guess like in the early 2000s, that's when we finally started laxing some of these laws here in Alabama. When I was growing up, for instance, and when I first turned 21, you couldn't buy alcohol at stores on Sunday, right? There are still dry counties and all that stuff, right? And they started laxing those up.
Dry counties.
They started laxing those up, and we started getting like we couldn't have alcohol, we couldn't have beer that was over 5%, right? Things like that. So they eventually started laxing that. We got some really great breweries here in town now. Yellowhammer, Rocket City Republic. One of my favorites is Straight to Ale, which is located in the old gymnasium of my middle school. So when I go there to like chill, have beer, and they have great food. We were just yesterday, me and some friends went to have lunch or brunch at I think it's called like, what's it called? Old Black Bear, which is in Madison, which is basically like a suburb, right? And they had a great burger. I had a great burger there with like grilled peppers and serranos and onions and all this kind of stuff and like a sriracha aioli. But I absolutely adore beer and I love craft beer. I don't really like if I go to a place now and it's just like Bud Light or Yingling or something like that, like I can drink it, but I would much rather have an incredibly hoppy, citrusy IPA. That's one of my things. Or I'd like a full bodied something. You know, like I'm sure John knows what I'm talking about, but
one
like
of the things I started doing
food too, and how it pairs.
In the beginning, like you're a young guy, you just go out to whatever. Once I got a little older and had a few dollars and could actually pay for a better beer, when someone would be like, "What beer do we want to meet at?" Yeah, that's what like Untappd and some of these other apps are for. Check a place out. If their idea of craft beer is like Heineken or something, and if you like Heineken, that's fine. Sort of slide on by. I mean, even if you can't find a microbrewery, which is pretty much most of the places I drink at now are microbreweries or microdistilleries. But if you can't find that, at least find a bar that is supporting craft beer another way. I really don't want to have to leave my house for like Corona. You know what I mean?
It's weird blats. I've had that. I got to tell you that one of the guys in our group, he's an Amstel light guy. All right. So we started, and he's a good sport. So we started forcing him, to come with us to the craft breweries. Right. And on Saturday, it was the funniest thing I ever saw. I thought that waitress was going to strangle him. He's looking at the very, very extensive menu, right? And they have a little card for you to fill out what you want. And you're fighting. And he's looking, he goes, "Where's the Amstel light?" No, he was joking. He knew, but I mean, it was just we get like that. We get ratty like that. But
one of my favorite things to do is whenever I go anywhere for like a con or if I'm just visiting another town, if we're at a restaurant, we're at a bar, I always go, "What's local?" Like I want to drink the local stuff. I want to try it out because, like for instance, I love IPAs, but I still enjoy stouts. I enjoy porters. I enjoy lots of different types of beer. But even if you like a particular type, every brewery is going to do it in a different way. Like I just had this one from, I can't remember. Is it Good People? I think outside of Birmingham, it was called Mumbai Rye. So it was like a rye India pale ale. And it was totally different than what I usually drink, but it was still really good too. So
I like that name. That's a clever name too.
That is clever. Bobby, thanks for joining us, buddy. Yeah, we're gonna throw that up in a second. But
hey, Bobby's a big Chiefs fan, so congrats, Bobby. Happy for you.
But
wow, congratulations. I didn't know.
Boo, never mind, Bobby.
Oh, come on.
So what's funny, we talk about blue laws, and CJ is absolutely right. Pennsylvania blue laws are ridiculous. They still have the state store system. It's so convoluted.
No matter what you say, I'm always going to remind you the way New Jersey and craft breweries work. They cannot make food. They cannot serve food. They cannot have food trucks within a certain distance of the brewery.
Dude, that's terrible.
Very powerful restaurant lobby using money from big alcohol,
Wow.
just arm twisted people in Trenton to get their way.
See, that's
This
one
is
of
a
the
very
best
small
things.
state.
That's one of
why.
the best things here is to go like Straight to Ale has great food, right? And they make a mustard, like a really good mustard with their Monkey Knot, which is their IPA and their flagship beer, and they make it with these pretzels, and they have they have all these tacos, and all of these breweries have amazing food, and if they don't, they have food trucks that come in. It's something that's really changed here, because when I was growing up a teenager, or even in my early 20s, none of this stuff existed. There's so much more stuff to do, so many more food trucks, so many more restaurants, different types of culinary styles and cultures represented, and it's a crazy cool world. I love experiencing life through taste.
So Colorado, when we were at the New Belgium, they had food trucks all lined up, right? So all you had to do was go outside and grab the food and whatever. John's absolutely right about New Jersey. It is a restaurant lobby to the point where, but you know what? This is how I survived all those years of softball as a single dad. I always had these families backing me up, right? So we roll in there, and my boy, his wife, take out a big cheese board. They brought chips, dips, everything. And we just laid out on the whole table. So we're totally prepared for it. And I'll be honest with you, I was telling John, next time, he's brought me all this food. Next time he and I should hit this place, and beers on me, because it was so reasonable. So there were 7 of us, okay? So I'm saying 6 of us got flights. Two of the ladies got like seltzers, and they had a couple of drinks, but not a full. We all got flights, mostly 6 beer flights. One guy got 4. And dude, the whole bill at the end of the night was like under 200 almost.
Not for New Jersey, that's exceptional. I know there are parts
cheap, dude.
There's parts of the country where that would be expensive.
Yeah. Here
in New Jersey, that's actually reasonable.
So speaking of beer, I got to say one thing. All right, I got to say one thing. So on national television, on the Today Show, they all week they were advertising about Super Bowl. What to make, the beers you should drink. Well, right. So they start talking about Yuengling. And this part makes me nuts because I do enjoy Yuengling beer. It's local. It's fairly inexpensive here.
You can make the argument that it's like one of the original craft beers or regional beers.
I know.
Along with like Sam Adams.
What are they?
Right?
They push themselves as the oldest brewery in America or something like that.
They claim to be the oldest brewery in America, and they have you actually go to the brewery. They actually have paperwork that they claim justifies that they're the oldest.
Do you know why I would not go to the brewery? Well, this woman completely got it wrong, made me nuts. And John will recognize why. She goes up there, oh, yeah, it's a local of Pennsylvania, very close to Philadelphia, and she's showing a beer off, blah, 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 and all the different flavors. And it's in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. Yep. You know what I'm talking about, right, John? Made me nuts. Because it is not in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. It's in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Because I actually drove past it, and I got to tell you, Sean, I recommend it. You see, that's the problem. There's one on the West Coast called Sierra Nevada, which I like. Okay, I think it's an IPA, right?
They have a pale ale that's probably their most popular one, just the pale
ale.
Right?
They have a pale ale. They make mustard. Their mustard is frequently used when I used to go to food trade shows.
I discovered it when I was in California years ago visiting family. And, I went to the liquor store and I'm looking for beer and I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. I bought a 6 and then I ended up buying a 12 and love it. But when I come here back to the East Coast, man, a 6 is like what, like 13, 14 bucks?
I love Zeds, right? I love these guys. I go down to
you brought me Zeds before.
I've brought you Zeds before. Love their beer. Love the family that the guy and his wife who run the brewery. When I did not realize, and this sounds terrible to say, but I did not realize what the walk-in off the street person is paying for a 4-pack. Like a 4-pack of beer is like $25. And I was just like,
that's it?
Yeah. I haven't
come to mechanical with me, brother.
I'm not saying that the beer isn't priced for the Jersey market because it totally is. Everything here is insanely expensive. I've had people tell me when they come from states like South Dakota, everybody in your state is a millionaire. No, they're not. It's just that everything gets priced out that way.
Yeah.
But I haven't. I usually just take a 4-pack and like comp the bartender tip or whatever. I've been friends with them for a long time. I was shocked when somebody walked up with their 4-pack. I said, "Oh, go ahead, man. I'm still picking out what I want." And he's like, "I just have this 4-pack." And she was like, "It's 26 something with tax." And I'm like, "Really?" Like I couldn't not say it out loud. I'm like, "Really?" You know what I mean? I mean, that's for 4 cans of beer, even though they're bigger cans, nicer cans, better beer. That's a lot. That's why people are still drinking. One of my favorite beers, the very first beer I ever drank was Genesee Cream Ale in those little bottles.
Oh, I remember
my
those.
old man used to have them in the garage refrigerator, and I'm probably like 13, and I decide, I'm going to have a beer. But
I was going to say, if you're paying $26 for 4 beers, that better lower your cholesterol too. Right? There better be something else that it's doing.
And your blood pressure.
Man, I'm not going to argue with you. I 100% agree with you. When I started vacationing in places like Myrtle Beach and Amelia Island, Florida, I saw the kinds of quality of things that people were getting, like for like glasses of beer at happy hour for like $4. They were getting like local craft beers for $4, and I'm like, what? And their happy hour is like from 3 to 6. Ours is from like 4:45 to 5 o'clock. It's happy quarter hour.
It's a little bit longer than that. All right. So let's get it. All right. Let's throw a few books up here. Somebody mentioned this, so we might as well throw it up. Superman #1 and Superior Spider-Man Goblin Nation #1, signed with Superman versus Spider-Man, cover sketch by Joe Del Beato and Mariano Nicieza. Obviously a homage to, 1976? Yep. There it is. I had that one.
Edition, everybody
had that one and read it until it was crumbling.
It's the first time you didn't mind paying that kind of money for a comic book because it was huge.
Yeah, it was huge.
Not just in size, just in the fact that it was Superman and Spider-Man together. And one of my favorite things about that book is like, there's no explanation about the multiverse. They just happen to exist and be like, oh yeah, I'm in New York now. Spider-Man goes to Metropolis. Right? Like what?
All right. So this one is suggested retail of $250, and we have it for $129.99.
God, that is so sweet.
And I got to admit, this is Jay. Yes,
yeah, he's Fabian's brother.
He is Fabian's brother. He got all the hair.
He says he says he's the much better looking and more talented.
Well, he's got the hair,
but I'll leave that up to the two of them.
Oh man! All right, so Lars Man in the house. So let's throw something out from Lars Man. Amazing Spider-Man #252, facsimile edition, signed in gold by Tom DeFalco. Number 14 of 15 signed. It's just a retail of $89.99. It is one of our 5-star $50 books. And obviously, Tom DeFalco, legendary creator in the industry.
He still owes me more M2 Universe stuff, so that's not a name we mentioned here.
I bet he'd love to do it. I'm very excited.
Enjoyed that.
I'm very excited. I get to meet Tom DeFalco. He's going to be at our local con in April. I've never gotten to meet him.
That.
But yeah, I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan. And when I was really getting into it in the 90s, I was reading a little bit of it in the 80s, but I really locked in the 90s, bought every issue. It was his run with Paul Ryan. Plus, he was the co-creator of Night Thrasher, who's one of my absolute favorite Marvel characters. So I'm so pumped to meet him. And Ron Frenz is going to be there too. So that's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone right there.
Very cool.
Dude. I saw Tom DeFalco several years ago, and he was just so like generous with his time to people, even after the panel. I forget what panel he was part of. I mean, my memory's not that good, but afterwards, he was sort of in the entranceway, like leaving. Everybody who's been to a con knows what I'm talking about, right? It's a big con center, there's rooms everywhere. There's usually like an entranceway or companionway where people. He legitimately must have been out there for 20 minutes asking people, signing stuff for people. And now I'm not talking about like Writer's Row or Artist Alley where they're kind of there to sign stuff. He's like in the hallway. He puts his bag down and the person he's with is waiting and he's just signing stuff and questions and stuff like that. I just thought that was, you know what I mean? I thought that was so cool. I mean, at that point in his career, the guy is probably, how many of these panels has he done? How many times has he had answered the same question, right?
Another thing I love about him is when he was editor-in-chief, he did that like self-effacing kind of thing that Stan Lee would do, and he would put himself in the bullpen bulletins and made fun of and stuff. And it really, when I was growing up, like in the early 90s, I'm like 10 through 15, like in 91 through 95, 96, right? And I just loved that so much. It made me feel like I was part of a cool crowd of people with in-jokes and And I knew the people behind the scenes, and they were cool because they would allow themselves to be made fun of. And Tom DeFalco has a lot to do with why I love comics. So I'm very pumped to meet him.
Well, the 90s was a time where, and sometimes I poke fun of books in the 90s, right? Because some of the art style choices and some of the storylines were a little over the top. But on the flip side of that, the 90s is where in both Marvel and DC, you got what I thought were the best versions of them telling their future. You look at some of the stuff that happened 2000s, even the early 2010s.
Right.
That stuff, and I hate to use this word, but it's very trendy. It almost makes you cringe a little bit when I see some of the stuff, right? Like Punisher 2099, like the 2099 universe was very cool. If you haven't read the M2 universe, really cool. And of course, I kind of have to do this because it's my favorite thing I've ever read in a comic. The best version I've seen of the DC universe, the near future, I'm a big Legion of Superheroes fan, was Kingdom Come. That was sort of like what the DC universe should have been moving to. And they did for a while, and they sometimes touch on it. But now there's all this sort of, they're much more into multiverse and this and that. It's hard, and I understand why. For all these copyright trademark reasons, characters always have to stay a certain age. And in some cases, there's a reason why they're a certain age, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing an older Batman. And to be honest with you, one or two characters in DC in particular, I always think should be a little bit older and look better with a little bit of white in their hair. One is Superman. He should be everybody's angry dad. Like there's a scene in Kingdom Come where the characters are going nuts and people are.
He's not an angry dad, John. He's just disappointed.
Yeah, that's a great. You know what? I think that 100%. He's looking down at all these people fighting, right? Inherited powers, inherited weapons, and the look on his face. He's like so disappointed. Like, this is what you started with me in a cornfield in Kansas, and this is where you are now, like throwing statues down the street and endangering people. And I just think that's sort of. I don't think there's anything wrong with a book like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with a book. And it was one of the Elseworlds or Planet of the Dead Earth where essentially Bruce Wayne becomes Ra's al Ghul. And he uses the Lazarus Pit to stay youngish. You know what I mean? Like Ra's, she's got like the white in his hair. And I just thought that was a cool, I guess maybe middle-aged Batman. And I know everyone's always going to hit middle-aged Batman in Dark Knight. I'm got nothing.
Mikey G, what's up, bud?
But I think there's nothing wrong with instead of having 19 different versions of a character and they're all that age, I don't think there's anything wrong with having an ongoing series where, like, for example, Spider-Girl, Tom DeFalco, M2. Spider-Girl was great. Peter Parker was still in the book. If I remember correctly, he lost a leg or had like a bad leg or something, so he really couldn't be Spider-Man anymore, so his daughter had to be Spider-Girl. But there's nothing wrong with that.
That was a long-running book, Spider-Girl in particular. It's because the other ones like A-Next, J2, Fantastic Five, they didn't really last too long.
Went, right?
Yeah, but Spider-Girl went for a while. It actually spun out of that What If that they did. I think it was What If 100, maybe. Maybe it was a little bit later than that. But,
and then, of course, when they did the Spider-Verse thing, she shows up all the time.
Right.
Exactly. Mayday Parker, right? And
Mayday Parker.
They still use that character, and that book continuously got saved by a very cool rabid fandom at one of the low points of the comic book industry, which is that late 90s period where like post-Marvel bankruptcy, like there's only a handful of people buying comics at that point,
Yeah, he really was sort of.
All right, so Preston asked
the
for
vibe
Rex
was
Cap.
you're still reading those. I remember that period. Like you would go to get your books, and people would be like, "Comic book store, you're still reading those?" And you're like, "Yes, I am."
All right, so Preston's looking for a Rex Cap, so let's throw a few more books out there. Rex Cap. There we go. Now you're cooking. All right, we got G.I. Joe #1 signed in silver by Fred Van Lente. Suggested retail of $69.99. It's number 20 of 100 signed, and we have it for $20. All right, then we have another Batman, John's favorite, Detective Comics number 1027, Art Germ variant, signed in silver by John Romita Jr. Suggested retail of $69.99. It is number 50 of only 50 signed. And we have the one available for $39.19.
Do we even have good versions of Batman, or is it these versions of Batman? Do we have like Batman animated?
Is there a version of Batman?
At least Batwoman's
I
cool.
love Batman animated.
At least Batwoman's cool. Batwoman's got a cool costume. This is a sexy cover.
That is an excellent cover, actually. I mean, I was kind of goofing because Batman's on it.
Do collars count the same as capes or what?
There's some nice
all right,
capes
so
on
Preston,
the cover.
you got it, buddy. So Preston's taking that one.
Sean actually is a good question. Does it say if John did the cover or the interior? Because the cover.
Well, the cover is art germ.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was going to
This
say.
cover is art germ.
Isn't the cover art charm or?
Yeah,
Cover's art term, but I'm
I think,
pretty
JRG
sure
did the
I'm
interior
pretty sure
art.
JRJR did some of the interior work on
Sure.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. All right. So
Yeah, we just wanted to be clear because we're talking about it. I'm like, that is art term, right? I mean, I know I'm old, but I'm not quite that old yet.
well, depends on.
I
the
know.
ask. If Alec were on the show instead of Robbie,
If you can't tell the
yeah.
difference between Art Germ and Ramita Jr., maybe you need to take a nap. Like,
I was gonna, well, I was just looking at it for a second. I'm like, wait, what?
All right. So, here's some back issues that we
That
have.
is a nice claim. Preston claimed that. That's a really nice claim.
All right. Here's some back issues.
Oh, your Batman books belong to me, Preston said.
All right, here we go. And these are bargain basement prices. Moon Knight #1, Legacy #201, variant cover. And we've seen it in the wild for around $13. And we have the one available for $6.
Wow, I got
It's a great cover.
Disappear in a heartbeat.
And they get even cheaper from this point. So then we have Age of Ultron #1, seen in the wild for around 10. Tonight we have it for 5.
foil cover.
And then we have Savage Wolverine #1, seen it in the wild for around 8, and we got it for 5. And
That Frank Show goodness right there, y'all.
I was going to
and
say.
if those are the only thing you purchased tonight, we can send a media mail, which would be about $5, give or take.
They had to edit this cover. I don't know if you guys knew this, but like I think what's her name? Is it Shauna, the She-Devil or whatever? Like this, like right behind them, they had to add some foliage to cover some of that dairy. I don't know if you the original.
I did not know that.
There's no business like show business. I love
All
this
right.
cover, man.
For Preston, let's do the Rex cap. Ready? Here we go. All right, so we have Amazing Spider-Man #252 facsimile edition, signed in gold by Tom DeFalco, obviously a homage cover. Suggested retail of $89.99. It is number 14 of 15, and it is one of our 5-star at $50 books. Then we had G.I. Joe #1, signed in silver by Fred Van Lente. Suggested retail of $69.99, and we have the one available for $20. All right, Jay, you got it, buddy. Hold on, let me get back to the Moon Knight. So Jay Nunya is claiming the Moon Knight. You got it, buddy. So that one is gone. All right. So where did I leave off here? All right. Okay. So next up, we have Star Wars #1, the movie variant cover, signed by John Cassaday. Suggested retail of $49.99, and we have the one available for $19.77 for 1977, obviously. Then we had Walt Disney Comics and Stories #1, signed with Pluto cover sketch by Ken Hazer. Suggested retail of $89.99. It is the most expensive CCA we have of the night. We have the one available for $29.99. All right, and then the big Mamma Jamma, we have Superman #1 and Superior Spider-Man #1, Goblin Nation #1, signed with Superman versus Spider-Man cover sketch by Joe Del Beato and Mariano Nicieza. Obviously a homage to the 1976 book. There we go. Thank you, Jay. All right. Then we did Age of Ultron #1. It is one of our back issue books of the night, and it's in the wild we see floating around for $10, and we have it tonight for $5. And then we had Savage Wolverine #1 floating around in the wild, and we have the one available for $5 as well. Then we did Vampirella #7, Lucio Perillo, variant cover, CGC graded 9.8, suggested retail of $89.99. This is one of our 5-star at $50 books. Oh, and you know what? Let's throw this out there. As always, we have the Dynamite 10-pack reader set, 10 random Dynamite titles. Jay, if Jay Nunya, Jay Burns, if you could throw up the link, Jay, click that link, fill out all the information. Most important, obviously, is your email and your mail, your ship to address.
Your ship to address.
And then we'll send an invoice to you, buddy. No problem. All right. So the Dynamite 10-pack reader set is 10 random Dynamite titles with a cover price of $3.99 or higher. So roughly a $40 retail or higher. And as always, as a thank you to our viewers, we have it for $5 for all 10 books, 50 cents a copy. If it's the only thing you purchase tonight, we can ship it media mail, which will be about $5 anywhere within the continental United States. Obviously, we can't do that with international orders, but within the continental United States. Just waiting on that right cover that speaks to me. Gotcha, Sean. All right, so I'm going to get through the rest of these books real quick, and then we'll continue. Oh, you know what? We got to go to our next break. Sorry. So we're going to go to our next. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Stay with us.
Did you know that across America there are over 2, maybe even 3 live stream producers who can't even afford Mountain Dew? Take Brian here. Brian has gone 2 weeks without a sip of Red Bull. If it goes on much longer, he may take a shower and get a real job. Situations like this are as tragic as they are preventable. Join the experience on YouTube and gain access to special emojis and members-only streams. For less than a cup of coffee, you can keep socially awkward hermit people working from their parents' basements where they belong. Scan the QR code on the screen to join. You'll be glad you did. Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Go follow The Experience on TikTok at @the_EXP1 or scan the QR code on the screen. Our TikTok is like everywhere else we are, except you only have to deal with us for a minute. Seems like a win-win to me.
To the side, and I'm just there.
Not partying hardy. All right, so we're back. All right, so let me get to the rest of the books, and then we'll do another Rex cap just to make sure that we cover everything. All right, so next up, we have Captain America White, #1, signed in silver by Jeff Loeb. Jeff Loeb is obviously a very difficult signature to get. It's number 5 of 15. Suggested retail is $69.99. It's one of our 5-star at $50 books.
This is kind of like a lot of Frank Robbins energy. If you've actually seen Invaders, a lot of people didn't really embrace Frank Robbins' style because it was very comic strip, not very comic book. But you go back, and if you go back now, especially if you have like Marvel Unlimited or whatever, you go back and look at those Invaders books from the 70s. They're pretty cool. They're really unique in a world where there's a lot of conformity with art styles or house styles or whatever. Robbins was a guy that always kind of swam upstream. And as the years went by, I really appreciated that.
All right. So
a really good encapsulation to their color series and Marvel, right? Because, they did Spider-Man Blue and Daredevil Yellow and Hulk Gray. And it took a while for this one to actually come out. But when it did, when those two work together, it's usually something really special.
All right.
Yeah, Tim Sale passed last year.
Yeah.
Was it this year? It was last year.
No, last year.
that's a guy whose body of work is sort of, I hate to use this term because it's almost disrespectful, seeing as how he just recently did. His body of work is almost bulletproof. I don't know if anybody can have a realistic problem with Tim Sale's work.
Right.
I mean, there's always somebody that hates everything, right? Let's be super honest. I'm sure there's someone out there saying Alex Ross is terrible or Jack Kirby was bad. But the reality is most people can agree there's like a group of creators that, they're sort of untouchable. I would put Tim Sale in that group, even if he's not necessarily the first guy you think of.
It's one of those things that you were saying, like with Frank Robbins. We've had this conversation before with people like Jack Kirby or even like Mike Mignola, where like the first time you see him, you're like, what? And I've seen plenty of people that like, they hear that Long Halloween's one of the greatest Batman stories ever. And then they go, man, what's up with this art? But then people that like, once people get into the industry, sometimes a lot of people will start developing a taste for other styles as you go on and start being, exposed to more styles. And not everything has to look like John Buscema. Not everything has to look like Jim Lee. Not everything has to look like Neil Adams, right?
Well, CJ Stein just said it, right? Robbins had an old school feel. As a kid who grew up, my dad's favorite thing was comic strips. He would read magazines and stuff like that, but my dad loved the comic strips. Like, that was the biggest reason the newspaper was in our house. The newspaper was in our house quite literally to wrap fish for his catering business and for the comics, especially the Sunday comics. So when I would see art styles that were similar to that, most of my comic book reading friends hated it. But to me, it very much reminded me of being a little kid, sitting on the floor, waiting for my dad to finish the comics. So, like, he would pass them down to me, and I was, you know what I mean?
Right. Gotcha.
So I always had sort of a, like a positive, like, nostalgia. And I understand it's not for everybody. Again, sales, some of it, not everything is for everyone. But there's a tendency if something is not for you now, and it's in any creative field, culinary arts, music, movies, it might not be for you, but somehow it's bad. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Yeah, there are certain things people can generally agree, this is not very good.
Right.
You know what I mean? But for the most part, maybe there's someone out there who, and this is a perfect example, I don't hate the Batman character. I like the idea of the Batman character. I very much like some of the earlier stuff, Aparo, some of those earlier things. They turned me off when they overexposed Batman, they beat it to death, and they basically decided that, with prep time, he defeats like the Beyonder and Galactus. I'm like, come on, man, slow down. And they got to Spider-Man at one point like that too. Spider-Man was putting like Heralds of Galactus in web bags and leaving them for the police, like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I'm like, look, I understand that this is your cash cow, so you're going to milk this every chance you get. But it's okay to sort of just let him stay in his lane.
Right.
You got like Punisher developing a gun to take out like, one of like the elders of the universe. I'm like, come on, man. Frank drives around in a van with a couple of his friends and kills people. Let's just stick to that.
All right, so let's get to the rest of the books, and then we'll do our final Rex cap of the night. So next up, we have Future Imperfect #1, signed in gold by Greg Land. It is number 1 of 10, only 10 signed in gold. It's just a retail of $89.99. We have the one for $62.
I read this really cool thing about the fact that many times they make a conscious choice. Artists make a conscious choice to change the shade of Maestro from Hulk. And this is where I kind of don't understand a little bit. There's more like of a yellow tint in it, right? The actual Hulk is more green.
Right.
Now, what confuses me, if the Maestro is more powerful, which kind of seems to be the direction that Peter David was going in, right? Especially that original sort of, the Hulk is beaten up pretty badly. You know what I mean? The Maestro is much more powerful. It almost seems like he would be more green, more gamma green, instead of the other way around. I'm not sure if the color, they're making this constant choice, because if you look, even in the Contest of Champions was what, 2012, 2011?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
The most recent one was where Maestro was one of the recruiters or whatever. It's sort of like they made the other Hulks greener. And I
think it's to make him look like pale, sickly, to make him look more evil, to stand him out a little bit. That's what I think. Well,
the original idea was he was sick. Like, he might have been more powerful, but living on, the irradiated Earth or whatever, he might have survived, but he didn't survive unscathed.
Right.
In that original world, you know what I mean? There weren't a lot of people left, so I think that's sort of, I like that idea. Like if you see like Steranko's Hulk, it's literally like he tells the colorist just drop the bottle on the you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like Kelly Green just gets dumped, blotted on. He puts in some pencils, and you move on with your day. That's a little bit. It's almost like, I can barely, and I love green. Everybody knows that. But I'm like, wow, man. Wow.
All right, let's get to the last 3 books, and then we'll hit the Rex cap. All right, so Vengeance of Vampirella number 6, CGC graded, 9.8. It's just a retail of $89.99. It is one of our 5-star $50 books. All right.
I really like this cover a lot.
All right, and then our 2 Incentive Virgin covers for Dynamite. We have Red Sonja, Hell Sonja, number 3, Incentive Virgin cover by Rebecca Puebla. 1-in-10 ratio, it's just a retail of $50. We have it for $19.73.
The year Red Sonja came out. Yeah, that's some of these variants, and I've seen this happen with Dynamite before. Certain things came out, and people were like, yeah, okay, maybe they didn't pick them up. And then a few years later, a year or 2 later at shows and cons, I would see people running from dealer to dealer trying to get, save like $4 and $5 off stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to see that happen with our viewers. So, like, trust me when I tell you, buying it for 1973 is way better than waiting or, maybe I'll pass or whatever. Really? Okay.
All right. Last item of the night, Cherish number 4, Incentive Virgin cover by Ben Templesmith. 1-in-15 ratio. It's just a retail of $50, and we have the one available for $15.
And that's a guy who sort of Ben Templesmith has done like a weird mix of stuff. That guy is clearly not afraid to step out of his, or maybe his comfort. He doesn't have a comfort zone. Maybe it's so wide because you think of Ben Templesmith. I don't know if I think of this kind of cover as the first move, right for Cherish, but. I'm super impressed by that. I love the whole sort of dynamicness of the ponytail. It's almost like the ponytail is the center and everything else is like it's in the foreground and everything else is in the background.
All right, so let's do the last Rex cap of the night. Rex cap. Well done, Jay.
Good job, Jay.
All right, so to start off, we have the Dynamite 10-pack reader set, 10 random Dynamite titles. Cover price of $3.99 or higher. On each one, and as always, we have the entire 10-book set for $5.
Sean, I agree with you. By the way, Scotty Young is a style. Personally, I like that, but I know there are people. A good friend of mine has been collecting as long as I have. He's like, I cannot stand when they put that guy on books I collect because in some cases I've got friends that have got 30 and 40-year runs of Daredevil or whatever, and they put Scotty Young on the book and they're livid, and I'm like, come on, man,
get over it. All right, so then we had Amazing Spider-Man number 252, facsimile edition, signed and gold by Tom DeFalco. It's just a retail of $89.99. It is one of our 5-star $50 books.
Nice.
Then we did G.I. Joe number 1, signed in silver by Fred Van Lente. It's just a retail of $69.99. We have the one, number 20 of 100, for $20. Thomas, we did not have a hashtag tonight, buddy. All right. So then we had Captain America White number 1, signed in silver by Jeff Loeb. Suggested retail of $69.99. It is number 5 of 15. And we have
Creative Keep.
Creative, what's up, man? We have one available. It is one of our 5-star at $50 books.
Yeah, it might not be available when I leave. Did you see what Ron said?
Ron
was like, can you please show the Man Thing CCA for Sean to say?
Well, I think Sean passed anyway, but
did he?
Yeah, he did.
See, I just think that's really.
But that's the one, Sean. If you want it, Ron has been gracious enough to give it up. Otherwise, Ron is.
Can you draw me this? They want like $50. That's crazy.
All right. So then we have Future Imperfect number 1, signed in gold by Greg Land. Suggested retail of $89.99, and we have the one available for $62. That's all right, Creative. We're in the middle of the Rex cap as we speak. And I think we got one really cool CCA left. So stay tuned.
He came in right at the right time, right?
Yeah, right.
He was doing a Rex cap.
So Star Wars number 1, movie variant, signed by John Cassaday. Suggested retail of $49.99, and we have the one available for $19.77. and this is the one creative keep. Well, no, actually, we have two. So Walt Disney Comics and Stories #1 signed with Pluto cover sketch by Ken Hazer. Suggested retail of $89.99. We have the one available for $29.99. This is the one creative keep. Superman #1 and Superior Spider-Man. Goblin Nation #1 signed with Superman versus Spider-Man cover sketch by Joe Del Beato and Mariano Nicieza. Obviously a homage to the 1976 book. There we go. Throw the CCA back up, buddy. There you go. So two books, suggested retail $250, and we have the pair for $129.99. All right, and then a handful of back issue books. We had Age of Ultron #1, floating around in the wild for $10, and we have the one available for $5.
Yeah, see, now I'm proud of if someone doesn't take this, I'll wind up leaving with this. That's a foil book that's hard to find for $5.
Yep.
That's like the price of a cup of coffee, at least here. You know, I mean, it's true.
Yeah, but John drinks fancy schmancy coffee, so just keep that in mind.
I do drink fancy schmancy.
I went to Wawa and got my free coffee before the game. That was like my 5th cup that day, but I didn't care. It was free. One
of the guys I talked to hit because he came down to LBI, he hit 4 Wawas on the way. The first thing he did was he came in, smacked hands, and ran to the bathroom.
Yeah, and the 4th one he went to the bathroom.
I'm like, dude, maybe if you don't drink 96 ounces of coffee in an hour and a half, you'd be okay.
But it's free.
That's exactly what he said. Just giving it away, man.
I can feel your brother. I can feel it. All right, Savage Wolverine #1, floating around in the wild for $8, and we have the one for $5.
Yeah, CJ, that's $5. I
yeah,
really
CJ,
hope somebody
it's $5.
takes that, man, for $5. Very cool foil cover.
All right, and then we had Vengeance of Vampirella #6, CGC graded 9.8, suggested retail of $89.99, and is one of our 5-starred $50 books. And then we had.
Good night, Ken.
See you, Ken. Vampirella #7, Lucio Perillo, variant cover, CC graded 9.8, just retail of $89.99. It is one of our 5-star $50 books. Then we had Red Sonja Hell Sonja #3 and Center Virgin cover by Rebecca Puebla, 1:10 ratios, just retail $50. And we have the one available for $19.73. And then finally, to close it up, we had Cherish #4 Incentive Virgin cover by Ben Templesmith, 1:15 ratio. We have just retail of $50, and we have this one at $15.
Yeah, I just think about it. I'll tell you what that reminds me of, the way the ponytail is drawn there. It almost reminds me of the way certain things were done in the 90s where they were deliberately oversized for emphasis. I mean, look at her ponytail. I mean, honestly, that would be down to the ground if it was straight, but it worked in the context of the book. And
it helps the composition of it, right? Like the
composition. I just like that. Also, if you're not reading Cherish, change that. This is a book that, you know what I mean? Like Sweetie. These are a few things people are like, oh, it's another Dynamite book where a hot girl has a gun and she's shooting people. No, especially Sweetie, man. I'm going to say no. Trust me, buy into that, man. Take a
Cherish is a fun book. I really like it. It's, of course, Katana does an amazing job writing it, but my buddy Joe is the editor of that book, so I always gotta shout him out for his work. And it's a really cool character with really cool concepts.
Yeah,
action figures would be really cool for the world of Cherish.
You know what? That's like we joke around a lot, but I really do pester Nick for stuff. And one of the things I pestered him about is like an action figure line, because I said to him some of the things from Cherish. I would love to see a Hell Sonja action figure.
Especially with all of the Vampiverse and the Sonja Versal, all that stuff. There's you guys could. I mean, I'm just saying. I got some. I'm right there. Somebody sold at my shop. I'll tell you that. People would love those.
The sound Nick hates hearing the most in the world is. Got a second?
You don't knock, dude.
I don't knock really because the door's open, but. Yeah, I would love to see. There's about 5 or 6 characters, and I know everyone's going to say Green Hornet. Yeah, would I buy Green Hornet action figures? Of course, but in the action figure market, even if I own this company, which fingers crossed, more lottery ticket. There are action figures I would do long before I did Green Hornet. For like to sell. I mean, if it was my company, I would do something. But for selling stuff from Sonyverse, stuff from the Vampyverse, there are characters, action figures that would be so cool.
Me personally, I would love a Vampirella that would go perfect with my NECA Elvira. That would be so cool to have Elvira and Vampirella just side by side. That's my dream. So I just, if y'all could help me realize that, that would be really beneficial to me.
Yeah, that's not
you
my
gotta
fault.
have really nice collars. Get good sculpt on those collars. Okay.
I'll make sure to make a note of that.
They write that down on your piece of paper. Tom Stagowski said he tooled around with the idea just on his own dime of doing a one-off of the Vamp because he loved that sort of like Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow era that she came from. Like if you read the Vampyverse, I thought the Vamp was very cool. You know, she sort of had that, you know, that kind of like pulpy vibe. You know what? As difficult as annoying as it is for Nick to have me ask him for stuff, it's probably more annoying when his creators say, "Hey, I was talking to John. I would really like to do more of the Vamp."
Stop talking to that guy.
Well, Janine Atchison confirmed for me because they were on a conference call, and he confirmed it's not just you. Nick does the sigh. It's this sort of like, man.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I just think Robbie said it. And I'm not like neck deep in the action figure community like I used to be. And I guess I'm biased because, you know, Dynamite are my favorite books, but I'm positive that given the right kind of push and platform, action figures would move. Some of the variants, I think Red Sonja would move on its own, but I really think like Hell Sonja, the Vamp, a couple other of the Vampirella variants, I think those are action figures that people would bite into. And then, of course, Sweetie, Cherish. I don't know how all the Siren's Gate. The world of Siren's Gate is very cool. Now, I understand that's owned by someone, so they might have like a different deal or whatever. Ronald, you and me both, man. I would love a full figure Shadow statue.
Well, not my department again. Robbie, so tonight is the Flash Gordon review, right?
That's right. Flash Gordon from 1980 with that Rockin' soundtrack from Queen tonight.
Oh, my gosh. Right? Did it not remind you how awesome that soundtrack is?
I know. That soundtrack's great, man. So good. That and Highlander, two of my favorite soundtracks from the 80s.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Highlander was an excellent soundtrack.
Really one. If you haven't seen Sam Jones at like a trade show or a con or something, change that. He is just such almost like some of the other characters from the 80s, actors from the 80s who played these characters. They loved it, they hated it, and then they came back to love it again. You know, like Sam Jones talked about, you know, Flash Gordon was like an anchor around my neck. I couldn't get other work. And then I started meeting people who like the entire world of Flash Gordon, in some cases, the entire world of pulp opened up.
That's
because,
true.
and he said it all the time, you know, people would get wasted and they'd go into these replay theaters or drive-ins and they would see Flash Gordon, and it was the wildest, trippiest thing they'd seen, and it opened up that whole world for them.
I got to tell you, one of my favorite scenes in that movie is when he's I don't know, he had just gotten captured or whatever, and he was in that area with Ming and everybody else, and then they had some sort of thing that looked like a football, and he's going around and he's just like hitting everybody, and then I forget the girl's name, but she's yelling, "Go Flash, go!" All right, and then she throws something at him and it hits him in the head. He's knocked out. I mean, that had to be one of the best of all time.
In that era, they felt like they had to go campy.
Right.
They felt that they couldn't tell like a straight comic story.
Well, it's got that camp, right? But like, it's got that camp, but all the villains think they're like doing Shakespeare. Like Ming,
right.
And what's the dude, like his henchman, like Clintex or something? Yeah. That dude is my favorite character in this movie. That's Dr. Doom. That's Dr. Doom. He looks just like him, just change the colors around. He's got that attitude. It's a fun movie because it doesn't take itself too seriously. But like the costume designer, the production design, they took that seriously. It's a gorgeous looking film. Wouldn't you love to have more comic book movies that were bright and colorful again, I would.
I agree.
I would agree with that. I thought the casting was really well done. And of course,
Timothy
again,
Dalton. You can't go wrong with Timothy Dalton in anything, right?
what's that?
You can't go wrong with Timothy Dalton in
Timothy
anything.
Dalton was Prince Baron, and then Brian Blessed was Wolfgang?
Is he the dude that played the Hawkman dude?
Yeah, he played the Hawk character, and that guy was legitimately a member of the Shakespeare Company because I see him when my wife watches all the British TV.
Right.
He's in all the Shakespeare stuff.
It just, I don't know. It was just one of those movies. You don't think it's
Disco
going to be
Camp
very
is right,
good.
Marcus.
You don't think it's going to be very good, and then you sit down and you watch it, and you're just watching it, and you can't, I always love that movie personally.
Flash Gordon is one of those movies I've bought in every format that I could find. Like starting with VHS, and then the second it's digital.
I bet you lost it when Alex Ross did that cover for the new Blu-ray, right?
So CJ Design, you know what? Dick Tracy is a movie I haven't seen in years. I think I should revisit.
Love that movie. We did that last year on PCP Movie Night, and we got to get a really nice, pristine, clean special edition Blu-ray of that 4K because that movie is gorgeous.
I would love that, man. I would be all
the
over
primary
that,
colors, the way they did it. It had such a blockbuster cast that it was almost immediately panned when it came out. That's the problem.
Too many
people were looking to jump on it.
The problem is too many people didn't understand what Dick Tracy was. Again, I grew up in a comic strip household. Like my dad's favorite stuff were comic strips like Tarzan.
Agreed,
Dick
John.
Tracy. And you have to kind of understand when everyone talks about Batman has the greatest. I always hear this conversation. Every comics person has heard this or been part of this. Who has the better rogues gallery, Batman or Spider-Man? My answer is always Dick Tracy. I'm like, what?
And you saw every one of them in that movie, just about.
My answer is Darkwing Duck.
Oh, speaking of which.
So 9:00 Eastern time on Pop Culture Philosophers. They are doing the movie review for Flash Gordon, one of my favorites.
And I'm not just saying it because we have Robbie on right now. I tell this to people all the time. Just go check out his channel. I mean, the stuff on there is just, we like to have fun here. We mess around.
It's award-winning.
Well, he is award-winning, but Robbie, like I said, he contextualizes his stuff. We have a lot of fun, blah, 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 laugh, buy these books, look at this food. But Robbie takes the time to break something down so that if you're familiar with it, you enjoy it. It's like a conversation with a friend at the bar. But if you're not so familiar with it, you know what I mean? He's almost like that friendly substitute teacher that's like, oh, you've never heard of this? Well, let's just sit down and rap about this instead of, whatever this lesson was, we're going to put this to the side.
Right.
And I've said this a couple times before. Robbie just has a real easy manner for this. There are people, and I'm not going to name names or hammer anybody. There's people doing these podcasts, and I'm kind of like, this isn't you. This is like a format, these kinds of shows, podcasts, that Robbie's like a real good fit for this. So I tell anyone, I want to jump into this world. I've said it before. I don't tell people to start here.
Right.
I'm like, it's like abandon all hope, ye who enter, if you watch this show. But I tell them, if you're going to start at PCP, and then you can sort of sense horror, comics. You can find your space a little bit.
All right, so we'll be back on Wednesday with our buddy Alec from AR Comics. Of course, Friday we have our original art show with Nick at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Jay, what else we got coming up on the Experience tonight?
So we have General Disorder with Jenna coming on next. And then after that, we have Hot Takes with Kyle. So
all right, fantastic.
Hopefully somebody will call in and argue with Kyle.
Oh, I'm going to call him and tell him I want it to be hotcakes. I just want it to be barbecue and pancakes. I don't care what he thinks about this stuff. I can just text him and find that out.
And keep in mind, tell your friends, we are shooting for 1,500 subscribers. If we get there, we will be giving away 15 CGCs to all the viewers across all the shows. A total of 15 will be given away for free. All right, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, we're creeping up that number. So yeah, like, subscribe, share. They're going to get to that number. They're going to give stuff away. Everyone will benefit. As always, sometimes we forget to say this. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
I understand that there's other stuff people can do, other content or whatever. I mean, it's just speaking for myself. I really appreciate when people make the effort to show up. That's why sometimes we'll put these books out here where I'm like, please just take it, man. Don't miss out on this. In the beginning, it was fun for me to get this stuff. I'd much rather see you guys get it because, I'll knock on Nick's door all the time for free stuff. You guys should get the good stuff for sure.
All right. So, again, thank you. Thank you for everybody that's here. Thank you, Robbie, as always, for joining us on Monday. Thank you to my buddy John, and thank you, Jay, for pushing all the right buttons.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. Appreciate it, man.
All right, we'll be back Wednesday.
Thanks,
See everybody then.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.